Welcome to the D&D Fitness Radio podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Don Saladino from New York City and Derek Hansen from Vancouver, Canada.
So David, man, it's great to be connected with you, brother. David Myers is like the chef, right? I mean, David, how many?
Yeah.
You've got probably you've opened over a dozen restaurants easily, right, at this point?
Oh, yeah, close to 20, and we have just in the next 3 months, we have 3 more restaurants opening. 2 are in Doha, and 1 is going to be in New Delhi. And we just launched last month our Adrift Burger Bar in Dubai at the Expo. The World Expo. It's absolutely incredible. So, even with this pandemic, it was a crazy 2 years, but man, to be able to finally hit the road again, be on a plane, be launching new projects abroad, it's a dream.
It's, it feels good. I mean, even being up at this conference now, which I think is something that Derek and I take for granted every year, because we're fortunate enough to be invited to a lot of these. When you've been pulled out of the mix for a while, then you get thrown back into it, even getting back onto a plane, which sometimes in the past, I'm like, oh God, I got to get on another plane. You're excited about it. You're like, oh my God, I need this. This is a part of my life. And I think that's, when I was speaking to Derek about you, that's what I find interesting is like, you are out of the States way more than you're in the States now, right? I mean, you're clearly living overseas. You're entrepreneurial. You've been really, you've really, I think, increased your fitness game over the years. But besides the fact that you're changing time zones, it's got to be difficult for you because you're a chef. I mean, you and I spoke about this years ago, but how is that for you? The fact that you always got to be tasting and you always got to be trying different foods.
Yeah, it's really tricky. I mean, the travel component alone, being on the road 50 weeks out of the year pre-COVID. Now I'm, a lot of countries that I was traveling to before are still closed. So I was in Asia a lot, and I haven't been back to Asia in a year and a half, and almost 2 years now. So it's basically been the Middle East, and just the travel component is a challenge as well when you get on the plane, et cetera. And I know we've talked about this a lot, Don, because when you were, guiding me and coaching me, we were always looking for ways to keep it dialed in, even on a plane. As a chef, it's like 100 times harder because we are, required to taste the food, taste the dishes, provide guidance, test new dishes. And, I've just realized, though, this is my life. This is what I have to do. And there's no excuses. So just find a way around it. And so what I've tried to do, to stay dialed in and to, continue with my plan is basically I just adjust my eating around that. So if I know I'm going to have a day of lots of tasting, I'm going to be trying 5 different burgers. I'm going to be trying, a lot of different courses with lobster and fats and things like that. I'm cutting out a meal, perhaps. I'm just basically backing off a little bit. I'm making sure I get my exercise in still. That's a non-negotiable. I'm making sure I get my steps in or some form of movement. And then I don't sweat it. I don't stress about it because it's my life. It's part of what I'm doing.
And Derek, I'm going to jump. I know I'm cutting in for 1 second, but I want to focus on that point. People do not understand that stress hormone, and they don't understand that there have been times in my life where I've stressed so much about body composition or so much about something to prepare for. And it makes your life that much more difficult. Like, you will not lose as much body fat. You will not be as strong in the gym. You will not be able to have the energy levels that you have. And I really believe that in time, a lot of us are improving as we age because there's this level of maturity that starts setting in. And that you start understanding that, like, okay, I'm going to be all right. Like, this is a day where I just have to do what I have to do. This is part of my job. I work on Wall Street. I'm taking people out to dinner. There's going to be some cocktails going on. There's things I can do to prepare up until that evening. But then at night, I just got to make the best possible choices. And I got to do what puts the bread on the table.
Well said.
Derek, thank you.
Yeah.
Derek, are you there?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the travel and the juggling you're doing, David, with everything. And I obviously I watch all these different food channel things, and most of the people that are chefs, and they don't look very healthy, right? It seems like a very stressful not healthy profession based on what we see on TV. But, you know, obviously you have found a way to balance that all. And it seems very difficult. Like, even there's a guy locally here who was in my track club when I was a kid or when I was younger, Rob Feeney. And I guess he's a chef and he does all these things and he doesn't look as healthy as he used to, right? He's obviously put on some weight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it seems like a very difficult profession to really, you know, get really focused on your health and your fitness. Is that true?
Yeah, it really is. It's funny. I was having a conversation yesterday with a producer, and you know, we're talking through some different show ideas, and he had looked at me and he goes, you know, it's amazing. You're a chef. You actually are fit. How do you do it? And I'm like, well, Don Saladino, number one. You know, take a look at him. I said, he's the guy you need to connect with. And I said, but seriously, he goes, your industry is known for, you know, if there's a saying that if you're not, you know, skinny chefs aren't good chefs because they obviously don't eat their own food. It's the stupidest saying in the world. It's absolutely absurd. The reality is that the chefs who are still skinny are the ones that are hungry, working their ass off, putting in the hours, like they don't even have time to eat, right? So, you know, going back to this, to our lifestyle in the restaurant industry, it's definitely not the healthiest. You know, I know of many chefs who've already passed away young. I woke up one day and I realized, like, I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to be that. And I remember coming up as a young cook in my very first restaurant. Every single night, the chefs would leave. They would go to the bar. They'd play darts. I would go as a cook, kind of, you know, trying to get in with the chefs. But every single night, without a doubt, there was, like, you know, they'd be having 10, 12 drinks and eating chicken wings and on and on and on. And I was young, so I didn't really think much of it. I'm like, wow, that's just the lifestyle. But as I got older, I'm like, this is no bueno. You know, we cannot do this. You cannot sustain your health with this. And so as I progressed, and I've seen a lot of the chefs, and they're out of weight, and they're, you know, they have no life. They literally wake up, we go to work, we work nonstop, we taste all this food, we go home and we eat one big, massive meal. We're too tired to cook. We've cooked for everybody else. So we're literally ordering 3 or 4 meals to eat at one time at 2 a.m. and then to go to bed and to wake up and do it over again. So the worst of the worst. And on top of it, you know, you have alcohol and all this. So your sleep is off. You have no exercise. Now you do stand, you do move all day. You are carrying heavy pots, you are chopping. But on top of it, there's an insane amount of stress that goes with this. And we thrive off that stress. You know, it's exciting. It's like game time. When it's time for service, we're pumped, we're ready. It's action oriented, but it's a lot of stress. And we're typically over caffeinated, underfed. Macros, what? There is no macros. Calories, what? Just get enough calories in, and then you eat all the wrong calories. So, you know, I think that there's a movement now, though, that's happening where I've seen a number of chefs who are starting to make this shift. Certainly during the pandemic, I've seen a lot of people who have taken charge, pivoted their lifestyle, and are trying to make an impact, you know, either by losing weight, eating healthier, getting on some sort of fitness program, just moving. And these people I know who are doing this, they're like, I've never been happier. And I didn't even know this world existed. And they've actually created new priorities for their life. And it's enhanced their business, as a matter of fact. So I know for me, just speaking for myself, and I've always been focused on fitness, you know, having worked with Don for a long time. But I never really had a moment to slow down until the pandemic hit. And as much of a awful period as it's been from a business perspective, there was a silver lining about being able to reflect on health and reflect on priorities and actually take the necessary steps and actions to put it into play to create new habits that, you know, after you start to feel really good, you don't want to go back.
Right. And listen, I want to piggyback off that comment. First off, thanks for the compliment. I got to throw a lot of love at my buddy Kirk Miller as well, because Kirk,
absolutely, Kirk crushed it.
He crushed it. And But I do, listen, I consider you a friend. Even you and I don't speak all the time. I know we're on our own little time zones and we've got our own worlds going on. But I did through, this is the positive that we get out of social media, right? I did see a level of maturity out of you with your fitness where evolved throughout that pandemic. And I know there was a lot of negative going on. We all know it. I don't have to keep bringing that up. But I also see that there was a maturity that stepped in when I think I want to say in the last couple of years when, you started almost, I feel like trusting the process a bit, taking a deep breath and relaxing. And, fitness wasn't all about, oh my God, if I have this, oh no. I really feel like you were able to chill out a little bit. And I feel like that is when you started seeing your greatest body composition changes, right? Like maybe your goal was something specific 4 or 5 years ago when we were working together. Maybe it's kind of evolved into something else. Maybe that level, where you started relaxing a little bit more and you were able to just take a deep breath and understand that if you had a couple drinks, tomorrow's another day. And the biggest mistake people make is when they go have a night like you might have and you're tasting or sitting down with some colleagues or opening of a new restaurant, you're opening a couple of bottles and you're having that. The difference with you now is I don't want to say the difference with you now. I want to say the difference between you and someone else is that the next day it's meditation, it's nutrition, it's training, it's just learning to breathe and take a second and reflect, where most people will have that night and they'll say, it's over. Like, you know what? Like I'm gonna start back on Monday. It's Thursday, and not to keep rambling, but you have me all pumped right now because this is such an important topic. It reminds me of a nutritionist buddy of mine, Adam Ross, the other day. He said, it's funny with the holidays between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Individuals are going to have anywhere from like 90 to 150 meals. And I thought about it. I'm like, man, I've never broken it down that way. Yeah, 30 days, 3 meals a day would be 90 meals, and if you're doing 5 meals a day, that could be 100. So yeah, 90 to 150 meals. He goes, the thought that 2 or 3 or 4 meals are going to completely ruin you or ruin your body composition or ruin your mental approach or ruin everything you work. It's mind boggling. Like it's impossible. The problem is not that meal. The problem is our mindset after that meal. And I think that's what you've learned to do really well.
Well, thanks for that, Don. I think that's, appreciate the compliment. As you'd mentioned with Kirk Miller, one of the things that I think he's known for is his Kirky's Sunday specials. I don't know if you've seen him on Instagram. It's a monstrous meal. Typically, they're old school English roasts with Yorkshire pudding, which is full of fat, by the way. They have bone marrow inside of it, for God's sakes, as well as duck fat. Then you got this big roast. Then you got this big platter of fried potatoes. And then he has a couple beers or whatever. So I've had the pleasure to join him. I didn't have the Kirky's roast, but in Dubai, I had the pleasure of joining him for a dinner one night where, we'd first met. I'd never met him before in person. And, we had a big night out. We had a big dinner, we had a couple drinks and we ate. And what I learned through this whole process was, he's super ripped, he's fit. He's maintained that for 20 plus years. And he's like, my lifestyle, I've set it up in such a way so that 80% of the time, 90% sometimes when I've got to dial it in, or 100 when he really has to dial it in, but typically 80% of the time, he's on point. His meals are consistent. They're boring perhaps, but they're healthy. And then the rest of the time, the 20%, 1 or 2 meals over the weekend, he just enjoys. He doesn't even think about it. And he goes, it does not touch the sides. So that was very inspiring. And so I tried to set up for myself my program where, 5-6 days a week, it's 100% on point. And then, I have a relaxed meal or two. And if I have some wine, great. It's awesome. Yeah. I planned for it. I want it because, me, I've told you all along, I enjoy wine. And so, it actually was incredible that it was more enjoyable one day a week than it was every day a week. Because you were waiting, it's like it was an anticipation and a reward, and it was so much more enjoyable than every single night the same thing. You come home, you open up a bottle of wine, you have a glass of wine, you have some food, and you repeat it. It just becomes the norm. Whereas if you're following a program and you just do it on that 1 or 2 days, it's a game changer. So that was pretty cool for me to understand.
I believe in it. Derek?
You talk about like your own personal health and the things that you're consuming. Do some of those same rules apply when you're preparing food for your restaurant or for your customers? And like, I always hear these stories about like, oh, there's a stick of butter in every meal because it tastes better. And like, is that true? One, is that true? Is a lot of this food that we're eating when we go out to eat, is it unhealthy or is it way too rich for what we need? And is there something wrong with that, or is that okay? Like if you go out, like you said, if you go out once in a while, that may be okay. But are restaurants and restaurateurs like yourself thinking more about the health implications of what you're serving?
I think in general we're starting to, but when it comes to cooking, my view in my restaurants is we're not there to, to put somebody on a course of like we have to create healthy food for them. First of all, the ingredients we use are always the best. And I think when you buy the best ingredients, when you buy organic, when you know the source, you already have a certain level of health built in. But we're not trying to create a dish to say, hey, this dish is, for all the people who want keto or want gluten-free or this or that, right? We're just trying to create a great dish that tastes great. And at the end of the day, we think it's healthy because the quality of ingredients we use. But if you're on a fat loss program and you're trying to cut down and you have to monitor your fat intake, well, we may have too much fat in one of these dishes for your allowance for that day. I think when you come to eat at a restaurant like ours, or you come to eat at other restaurants of chefs doing food, you should just enjoy yourself. It's one night, it's one meal, and again, as we've said, just you don't let it knock you off the path, so to speak. It's kind of a treat, right? So yeah, sometimes we use a lot of butter. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had corn on the cob and you like literally roll it on the butter, the stick of butter. That's awesome. It's absolutely amazing. Or pancakes with butter. I mean, come on, but not every day, not every meal, right?
Right. So, I mean, this is right in my wheelhouse right now, because I think most people will look at the way that I eat, and I get asked this probably, I'd say almost daily. Do you ever cheat? And I'm like, I cheat all the time. It's just a misconception. People just think because I'm the business I'm in or what I do that I don't cheat. The only time I don't cheat is when I have a prep for like a cover, like just on the cover of Muscle and Fitness. They gave me 5 weeks, I think 4 or 5 weeks to prep. I didn't have a cheat. I didn't have a glass of wine. And you know what? That is my prep. That is really what I change with my nutrition plan. But the weekends come around. My kids want to go to Five Guys. I'm in. Like they want to go get some ice cream. I'm in. I'm going to do that stuff. But again, like you said, maybe it's just that one meal. And I also find that giving yourself a little bit of that mental break and a little bit of that enjoyment is what one allows you to always enjoy what you're having. Like you said earlier, I'm going to have a glass of wine or a beer. It's going to be delicious. I'm going to make sure that I'm consuming something that I really enjoy. But I'm also never taking it for granted, and I'm never overstaying my welcome with that sort of thing. And I'm always staying motivated now. I'm like, okay, when I might lose motivation is if I go 3 months without taking a cheat. And then after a period of time, you're like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? Like, this is just like, come on. Like I went to 4 dinners already. I'm going to Dave Meyer's restaurant. I'm not going in there and saying, hey, Dave, can you just give me, a piece of grass-fed beef with no butter or oil? I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not like, if I have to prep for something, then I'm not going. Right. But if I'm not prepping and I'm in Dubai, like, you're my first phone call, man.
Thanks, man. I better be.
And I'm introducing to all my good people. I like Jordan Shallow,
yes,
Chris Miller. They've all eaten at your restaurants. I haven't been here yet. I'm like, upset.
You got to come. And Kirk took down like 3 burgers at once. One for each
Kirk
line
can't
of
eat
6
like
packs.
me. Kirk can't eat like me. I'm gonna put him up to the challenge.
I can't wait to see it.
Derek, we're gonna go. Derek, we have to figure it out.
Okay, where are the restaurants? I want to know.
Yeah,
I want to get on a plane.
Well, listen, the best places right now, the funnest places are Dubai. So we just launched at the Expo. It's a blast. And Dubai just as a city as a whole, I'm sure Jordan told you. I mean, it's epic. Will Smith literally moved there just to write his book. A lot of people are moving there now. So Dubai is one. We're going to be in Doha. We're in Delhi, Singapore, Tokyo. That's it for right now. And then Los
Jordan's
Angeles.
moving. Jordan's moving there
Is he moving to Dubai
this week.
Are you kidding me?
No, Jordan's, I think he said he was going to hit you up, but his girl, it might either be this week or his girl's moving there this week. He's spending a week with me in January, but he's going to be back. But I think he moves. Let me rephrase that. He moves there permanently within the month. I know that for like within a 30-day calendar, of course. But he's moving there. She's moving there for work. Everyone's going there right now. Kirk's there full time. I heard he's back in London though, right?
Yeah, just for a few weeks, and then he'll be back. But he's there full time. Michael Hearn just texted me. He's going next week, and he's like, "Are you going to be there?" I'm coming in with the wife, and he wants. I mean, Don, let's go. Come on,
I'm in O'Hearn. Tell O'Hearn to be a man. Tell him I said it. Don said be a man and actually film a meal when you're going in. Like, I want to see him eating at your restaurant and actually eating. Not Good taking call. Like a sip. Yeah, tell him I said that and tell him to send it over to me. Tell him I love Mike's one of my favorite people. I think he's fantastic.
Amazing guy. I'll definitely tell him that. That'll be fun. I'm going to be back next week, so I'm going to definitely meet up with him. I've seen him at Gold's, all the time, but I've actually never met him. So, I'm looking forward to that.
And how are the menus at these various places around the world? Are they much different? What can people expect?
So we have a Drift is our main brand, is our restaurant group. And then underneath the Drift, we have 11 different concepts right now. Some are in development that haven't been launched yet, and others are. So we have Ami, which is our French restaurant. It's a Southern French restaurant. We have Anda, Drift Anda, which is an Italian restaurant. It's basically the best pasta from Rome, the best pizza from Naples, and the best steak from Firenze, from Florence. Then we have Adrift Kaya, which is our Japanese izakaya. That's going to be in Delhi. So just amazing sashimi and yakitori and just, incredible Japanese dishes. And then Adrift Burger Bar, which is right now, it's so much fun. It's one of my favorites. It was a long time passion that I wanted to bring forward. I never had the time to do it. The pandemic hit. It was an opportunity where I was like, listen, let's do some good. Let's find a location that's closed. I mean, so many restaurants were closing at the time. And let's get people back to work. Let's try to get some people, some jobs to some people. Let's get some burgers out and put some smiles on people's faces. And LA is like a burger capital. So it's one of those things we could have done. And we did it. We did it in 30 days. We literally, from the moment that we came up with the idea, we found the space, we launched it, we opened it in 30 days. And a year later, we're still going. I never anticipated we'd be going. It's just a pop-up, and then we opened in Dubai about a month and a half ago. So crazy how this came about.
Well, let me ask you a question. So you're naming all these incredible locations, right? But there's no New York. What's going on? Is that part of it? But seriously, and I understand. I mean, New York's there's just a lot going on there right now. I mean, my gyms were in the city for a long time, and I decided to kind of part ways with that. And I'm very happy, but it seems like you're going to these new spots right now that are really like thirsting for just, new concepts and just new development. I mean, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, well, it comes down to this. I'm obsessed about international, and being in different countries, different cultures as a chef is the most inspiring thing. All of my restaurants have been inspired from my travels. And so I made a conscious decision at 40 to do a complete pivot, to focus more. I exited out of my restaurant group that I had in Los Angeles to focus entirely on international. And, I put energy into Tokyo and Japan. We opened 5 places in Singapore and Hong Kong and Dubai. And what I love about it is, there's so much energy happening. It's a melting pot, just like New York, just like LA. But, I'm in a totally different world. I'm 18 hours by air away from the US in a completely different environment. And, as a person who's always curious, that's exciting for me. I learned so much from it. And I also think right now that the amount of growth that's happening business-wise, the Middle East is really where it's at right now. And but New York is definitely on the radar, Don. I love New York. I used to live in New York. I mean, it's that will be kind of like the pinnacle for me when I finally come back to New York and do something.
I don't know, man. I'm feeling like a 2-week fitness and food tour with you, man. We just go around and document it. We
Let's
just
go.
figure out a way to. No, I'm serious. Let's figure out a way to like train and like, but enjoy these like culinary experiences and just kind of see what you've developed, but then also look at other great things that, yeah, I think we just figured out a good TV show that we're going to have.
It's like the Amazing Race Food Edition or something like that, where we just,
but how do you balance that out? But this has been the problem, guys. David, this is why Derek and I really wanted to have you on. The problem is it's always this like left or right direction of like, oh, you've got to be like on a cover, you have to do this, or like, you know, even with chefs or foodies, you know, they're going to be out of shape and they're going to unfortunately have health issues. Like, no, I think, David, in a way, you're one of these people who are really, I think, carving that path. I mean, one of my buddies, Matt Abdu, he's a chef in New York, and he just lost a ton of weight, and he's on this path of health and wellness now, and he's learning how to balance out, and you're years ahead of him, but in sense of from the fitness standpoint. But I've been so proud of the direction and the progress he's been making. It's been amazing. But just to see him, every time I see this guy, he's getting in better shape, and he's like, no, I gotta do this today. No, I'm not having a glass of wine today. Like, he's picking his battles a little bit, right? And I think that's important too, to understand that you can't always have your cake and eat it.
Well, that's the key right there. And also pick your battles, I think, is another really great point. You can have a glass of wine, you can have a glass of wine on the weekend, just don't have it every night. It's like just a little bit of that, focusing on what's really important. What I found was literally after just one night of saying, you know what, tonight I'm not going to have a glass of wine. I'm going to make sure I hit my calories, make sure I hit my macros. I'm going to make sure I get a good night's sleep. The next day, I didn't even want a glass of wine. I felt so good. I was like, man, this is incredible. I'm just going to keep this going. And then come day 6 or 7, I'm like, I still don't think I want a glass of wine. I feel amazing. Then maybe a couple of weeks later, a month later, I was like, I really want a glass of wine. And I did it, no guilt, felt amazing. And the next day I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go back and not have a glass of wine again. And you're kind of back on that path. And having that, I don't even want to say it's discipline, because, discipline can go out the window so easily. It just became a habit where you felt good, like this is how you're living. And it's unbelievable. Like, I've met a lot of these fitness influencers now in Dubai, and we've done, some collaborations and stuff. And a lot of these people, everyone's got a Whoop on or an Aura ring. Everyone's doing ice baths and saunas. And, of course, the workouts are a given, how they eat is a given. But it's all of these different things around their lifestyle that is making the biggest impact for them. What's their morning ritual? What's their evening ritual? What type of choices do they make on the weekend? And how do they still have fun, but keep everything dialed in? And I had a lot of really good conversations with these people. And, what I really found it came down to their rituals.
Yeah. Awesome. Dave?
I'm going to bring up the elephant in the room around mental health in the restaurant profession. And, you said it was stressful, and I think a lot of us who go to restaurants take it for granted. Like, if your food comes too fast, it's probably not good. If it takes too long, it's not. Like, how do even just the timing, the logistics, the financial stuff, how do you keep it all together from a mental health perspective? Obviously, we talk about fitness and eating, but is there something that you have to do to make sure you can hold it all together, but still have your finger on the pulse of all these restaurants?
Well, I have to say my teams now really run the day-to-day operations in the show, and they love it. It's a game for them. It's like they're going out for a championship event nightly. So when 5:30 hits, service opens, it's game on. Everyone's got their game face. Everyone's excited, and pressure is not a bad thing. Sometimes, most of the time, right? Sometimes it is, but in our business, the pressure is what gets everyone excited and pumped, and they actually live for it. Where it becomes a problem is if, you're overwhelmed in other areas of your life, then you've got the pressure of work on there. It's like that, it's a snowball effect. Maybe you're having some health issues, you're not eating well, you're not happy with how you look, you're not happy with how you feel. That feeling, I would say, is the biggest challenge, I think, for a lot of people. And, you can see it in the business, especially if they don't have time to exercise. And, in our business, we are tired. We work 12, 14, 16 hours. when do you work out? You know, it's like, how do you do it? And, you know, I told we had a guy who was working for us who was a manager, and young kid, awesome guy, really great with the guest, and just got diagnosed with diabetes, and he's 24. And so I'm like, he's like, man, what do I do? What do you think I do? You know, the doctor said I have to just this. And I'm like, listen, you don't have to tackle the world in one day. All right. Just, you know, let's start with, why don't you just walk a little bit if you want? Can you, you know, do a morning walk for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you know, just little steps like this. Every little bit adds up and makes a difference. You don't have to, you know, go to Gold's Gym, go to a CrossFit gym, get some new program going and start up and blow it out in, you know, 1 week. Just start small, start slow. And, you know, his mindset really shifted, and he started walking. He's like, hey, look how many steps I did today. Hey, look at what I did. And he was getting happier because he felt momentum. And that was the key, just a little bit of momentum to keep going.
Give me your outlook on ordering out at restaurants. So obviously we've come clean, and we've told everyone, you know, when we go out to a special spot, we're not gonna, you know, make any variations to that dish. And it's something where, you know, we want to enjoy. I'm going to David Meyer's restaurant. Trust me, I'm not ordering a salad. I'm sitting there and I'm ordering off the menu, and I'm going to use that as an opportunity to really enjoy. That's when I want people to do it. I want them when they're going to a special place, when they're home on a Tuesday night and they're like, oh, I'm just going to order a pizza for the sake of it. Well, if you did that 2 nights ago, maybe that's not in the cards for you. And that's just the way that I go about thinking about it. But how do you handle as a chef, or in the past, when someone would turn to the waiter or waitress and say, I'd like to make this specific substitution due to dietary purposes? I mean, I've heard rumors of chefs really being bothered about that. Is that true, or do they really not? Or they really don't care?
Well, some are. For us, we're not. Absolutely, whatever you wish, we'll do it. You know, our view is that if somebody doesn't like something or can't have something, why would we force them to have it? You know, or why would we say no? First of all, no is a negative, right? You know, right. I don't want to hear somebody say no to me. So we just if we're able to do it, we do it. If we have it. So, you know, if somebody comes in and says, hey, I want this Chinese dish from Shanghai that I had at this restaurant at the burger bar, we can't do that because, you know, we don't have those ingredients. We don't have the ability. But if we have the ability to do it, we can switch out an oil. We can switch out an ingredient. We can not include an ingredient. We can cook it a different way. If they want it steamed versus this, that, we'll do whatever it takes because it's not hard. We're chefs. We're cooks. We know how to do it. Right. So we accommodate. Absolutely. I mean, we're there to support.
Funny story, Derek. This is, you guys are going to get a kick out of this, but both of my kids are now 14 and 13. But my buddy Matt, the one I was talking about, opened a restaurant. I want to say it was probably 6 or 7 years ago in the city that he ended up moving and relocating. But it was more of a steakhouse, burger joint. And my son comes in at the time. He's 6 or 7 years old, and he actually ran into Matt at the gym that morning, and Matt goes, Donnie, you're coming to the restaurant today. What do you want? And Donnie just looks at him. He's a little kid at the time. And he goes, penne alla vodka. It's a burger bar. The kid's like, and he, at the time, he didn't know if the alla vodka was the red cream sauce, or if it was the white sauce, which is Alfredo. He had no idea what he wanted. But he said penne alla vodka. So we showed up to the restaurant. I'm like, Donnie, you can't get that. We showed up to the restaurant. Maddie went down to the farmer's market and bought the tomatoes and bought all the ingredients and prepared a penne alla vodka for my son. And I'll never forget, but thank you. That's exactly what it was. It was beautiful. This chef it was his art. And that's one thing I love about you is not only you're a great person, but cooking for you is an art. It is a skill. It is something you take, and I haven't even eaten your food, and I know from having the conversation with you take so much pride in what you're doing. So whether you're making ramen noodles for someone, or burgers, or sushi, or penne alla vodka, I know for a fact you're putting that same love into every dish.
Absolutely, and that's what it's about. It's about love. And so what Matt did for Donnie was, he, you know, as a chef, number one, we want to take care of people. That's number one. And so him going out to the farmer's market, getting some tomatoes, doing all that stuff from scratch, that's pure love, man. That's why I love chefs. I mean, they're just, you know, you want to give them a big hug. That's awesome. That's a great story, Don.
Fantastic. D?
What David, what are some things that you like cooking for yourself? Like that's, I think, like everybody wants to know, like, hey, Don, what workouts are you doing for yourself? But what are
Yeah.
some things that you enjoy preparing for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, I am really simple. I love, my favorite is to grill out a steak outside. Like, I live, in LA, and to be able to fire up the grill, put a great steak on, have an amazing salad from the farmer's market, like different ingredients and vegetables, raw vegetables and mixed greens, like huge salad, glass of red wine. Like that's my happiness.
Hmm.
But I also love, the daily routine of, I just had breakfast. What did I have? I had buckwheat groats that I love. It's a little different feeling for me when I have it versus an oatmeal, and I can eat more of it at less calories, which I also love because I'm constant. You're always hungry when you're working out. So that with some yogurt and some berries and some almond milk, and then some, a couple eggs and egg whites with it, some salsa, like that is brilliant. I love cooking that because every time I'm doing it, I'm like, man, the health is coming in. I'm feeling stronger every day. This is this building it up. But my go-to is I love to grill out. So if I could just light up a fire, put a great steak on, have an amazing salad, have a great, great glass of red wine, that's my heaven.
Any guilty
So
pleasures where you go somewhere and you're like kind of
yes,
embarrassed to tell us? Like,
I want to hear this.
Listen, I'm never embarrassed to tell anybody what I love to eat or what I eat. I have no issues with that at all. But I think sometimes I'll get a hankering for gummy bears. I don't know, when I land in Munich or whatever, I see their classic Haribo. I'm
Well,
like, bring those babies over to me, and they're like, they give me a bag. I'm like, no, 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 not the bag. All of them. Let's go. Get them over here. Fill up my bag with those things. I think I'm an addict to gummy bears. And so the funny part is that I haven't had a gummy bear in 2 years. But before that, man, it's probably my go-to thing. Is my guilty pleasure is a bag of gummy bears. I love them. The New York Times did a great article. They said you start with one, then you have two, and before you're even close to finishing the bag, you have handfuls going into your mouth.
yeah,
And there's something about a chemical reaction that happens that you can't stop. You
it's like a
cannot
drug.
stop. Yeah. So that's one. I don't have any crazy food that's like, considered not good or not healthy. So I think all food for the most part is good, aside from some. But I love sushi. I love I love to go crazy with sushi. It's but it's in a way healthy. Aside from the vinegar and salt that goes into it. But I love pretty much all food.
Derek, what about you? What's your little
I
guilty
don't know. I'm still
guilty
thrown by
thing?
the gummy bears. I wasn't expecting that.
Derek, come on, putting you on the spot here. We all gotta have one.
I don't know, like just we went out one time and we ordered
One
like
time.
this one
One
time. We don't
time.
go out that much lately, but we had this sort of Asian prepared chicken burger, and it had like a pineapple bun, and and the fries were like, we're just crazy in
Unbelievable.
terms of the amount of oil and all that. And I don't know, stuff like that where it's just like I would have that probably once a year, where it's just fried and, but otherwise it makes me ill if I have it more than once a year.
I'm a big burger, fries, and ice cream fan. Like to me, like getting away from like Italian food, which I love, or like burger, fries, and ice cream might be like my meal. But that one thing that reminded me when David said about the gummy bears is I love like caramel corn, like kettle corn. But like when it's made, like David, it's funny. Like we like every year we go to Disney and they have this like I'm not even, I don't even know if it's good or not. It's probably like who knows, maybe it's garbage. But Werther's has this caramel corn factory where they show you pouring this Werther's caramel onto this freshly cooked popcorn, and they hand you the bag going out, and I'll eat that like I'm going to the electric chair. I mean, it's disgusting.
Well, you would be Nat, I'd be my gummy bears. So it's the
I
same.
love it.
It's the
That's
same.
that's
It's
that's
funny.
amazing.
I was in Miami a while back, and there is this dive bar that my aunt and uncle took me to, and right on the water. And they have they're like, you got to come and try their shrimp. It's amazing. It's fresh off the boat. I'm like, yeah, I love it. Fresh off the boat shrimp. Who wouldn't love it? Let's do it. So they order the shrimp. It comes out. and it is sitting in about a gallon of margarine. Like literally, it's cooked with it's like bay salt and margarine, like Old Bay seasoning and margarine. It's literally swimming in it, and I'm like, my God, that is a heart attack waiting to happen right there. But let's give it a try. Here we go. Unbelievable. I devoured it. My aunt and uncle were like, do you want to save any for me? I'm like, let's get some more. This is incredible. Listen, sometimes when things like that get presented to me, I'm a beast. I'm going in.
You got to do it, man. You only live once. And I think this is the main takeaway from this conversation, one of the main takeaways from this conversation, but beside the fact of your culinary skills. But, we got to save it for those times. You know what I'm saying? When the holidays are here, which we're approaching, what do I tell people to do? I tell them to go about their normal routine. And when they want to have it. Like, do that. It's that random Tuesday night when they're sitting home and they just came off of a weekend of maybe overindulgence. Then I would say, listen, that's probably when we don't want to open a bottle of wine on our own, or that's probably when we don't want to go order some fast food. Like, and if you just start eliminating a little bit of that, if we can just make next year an improvement, if we could turn around into 2022, and if you went and you ate poorly 300 days, and then we cut that to 150, and I'm making that up, but listen, that's an accurate statistic. Well, it's not perfect. You're right, but we just cut that in half. That's an improvement.
Yeah,
and I think that's what fitness and wellness. That's massive. That's what fitness and wellness is about. It's not always about finding perfect. It's just finding a little bit better and just trying to build some confidence and then hitting repeat that next day.
Yeah,
I think you feel it too.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I like this whole idea that David talked about this, how travel and food is so linked. And I think about here's one more question for you, David. What is the best thing that you ate in somewhere very obscure where you never thought you would have found something really great? Because I remember I was in Japan, and I was being driven between towns, and we stopped at almost like a truck stop, and there was somebody as a cart and had meat on a stick, and it was the best meat on a stick I've ever had. But do you have any stories like that where you've just
Absolutely. I have two. I'll give you two right off the bat. One is one's pretty easy, and the other is a bit more exotic. So one was at the airport in Hokkaido in Japan. It's at the Sapporo airport, and I was just coming back from snowboarding, getting on a plane to fly back to Tokyo. Was starving, and they had the coolest sushi counter robotic experience at the airport. You literally ordered at like a kiosk where they had all the pictures and you just ordered it. The seafood coming from Hokkaido is some of the best in the world. It was insane. Like, it was I spent $50. I got the most amazing sushi. I would have spent $450 in Tokyo for that same amount, for that same quality, by the way. So that's one that was really surprising. Right next door was my gate, and I mean, just I devoured it. It was amazing. Another crazy one was in Vietnam. So in Saigon, or Ho Chi Minh, as they call it, there's basically, the way that you eat there is it's like little drinking spots, drinking food places. It's always on the street. So you will go to one place and get a banh mi. Then you'll go to another place where they just have grilled chicken wings, which is the greatest chicken wings. They put on, fish sauce and ginger and lime and chili, and it's insane. But you only go there just for the chicken wings. Then the other spot down the street, they have a little grilled rice cake with fresh vegetables and herbs that you can wrap with it and eat that. Like, that's insane. Then you go to another spot 5 minutes down the road again, and they'll do a grilled crickets, something, these bugs, which is nuts, right? It's part of it's a lot of what they have. And then you can go to another place and just get pho. So that type of an experience, all within a 5-minute walk. You keep walking down the street, and it's always on the street. They always have one little cart. I mean, that's awesome. You get to experience the food, the culture, the people, and man, it's good. It's really good.
You just mentioned snowboarding in Japan, and my family and I, through the pandemic, kept watching this series on ski.com. It was like 3 different continents, 18 different countries. It was this kid, Jackson Westpac, and he would put out these 3 to 5 minute videos featuring different places like Chamonix, Hakuba, Japan. So he came up to the one in Hakuba, Japan. And my kids made my wife and I promise that before they go to college that we're going to take them on a snowboarding trip over to Hakuba, Japan. So I'll definitely let you know when we're going over there.
Oh,
it sounds like
yeah.
It sounds incredible.
You're gonna love it. The snow is champagne powder. I mean,
That's what I heard.
it's really some of the best that there is. I mean, there's a few places that have that, the champagne powder. They're one of them. And also best food, in my opinion, of any sort of resort that you would go to anywhere in the world. And then on top of it, the nicest people. You got that Japanese hospitality, which is just incredible.
Yeah, it is. I hear it's incredible. So could you let everyone know, listen, we're almost an hour in. I mean, I can't even believe it. We're going to have to do this again with you. If you don't mind, down the road, you can maybe talk about or showcase some other stuff that you have going on, because I think it's really interesting. But besides the restaurants and all the success that you've had with it, I think it's your balance with fitness and nutrition is something that I really would like. I would like it to be a major takeaway for most people today, because I just want them to take a deep breath and relax. Can you let them know where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So Gypsy Chef .com is our website. Instagram is Gypsy Chef. Just take a look and check us out. You can see all of our restaurants there and kind of see my lifestyle and what I do and when I'm on the road and what I eat, and also the fun I have. I like to show that as well. So, Don, I want to thank you, and Derek, thank you both for having me on the show. It's been such an honor. I've been a huge fan of what you guys have been doing with the podcast, and Don, you're my brother. I loved working out with you and, getting trained up and all the connections. It's just been absolutely incredible. And I would love to come back. I'm sure I'll have some more stories, some new good stories, but, I'm going to leave you with this bit. I finally have turned this into my lifestyle. This is a core part of my life. And I'm actually bringing this as a core part of my business going forward. It's not just creating epic dishes and great restaurants and all of that. I'm also looking at how I can incorporate the experiences I had through this fitness journey, and how it's become a lifestyle journey, and it's become my lifestyle. So I'm really looking forward to diving into that even more. It's exciting, it's inspiring, and it's challenging, and I love it.
Well, I love it. I know Derek enjoyed the conversation as well. And when you're out in New York, come out and train in the barn, come stay with us, and maybe we could do a little workout / cooking filming. We could kind of make it a fun little segment, make some content together. Done. Just say the word. You're in.
All right, man. I love it. I'm so excited by that. I will make that happen for sure.
You're the best.
Yeah.
Derek,
I'm moving to Dubai, Don, after this one.
Derek, let's go, man. Let's go. Outdoor gyms. I mean, listen, you could train next to a cheetah. I mean, come on.
Perfect for your running mechanics, Derek. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah. Nice fit.
Good for sprints.
Guys, thank you again.
Thanks.
Thank you, David. Really amazing. This was
awesome.
Fantastic. And I'll be hitting you out. That was a lot of fun. Really. We should do this again.
Thanks, guys. We will. Thanks.
All right.
Ciao.
Take care. Bye-bye.